Hi, Mr. Brian Tichy. Welcome to LINEA ROCK.
Hello. How are you?
Good to have you. So I was saying, I was just saying that pure breed, pure blood. You're such an amazing drummer. And we're here to present the new Dead Daisies album, Radiance, which is coming out on Friday. And of course, we all need to shine on again after, what happened. And by the way, I hope you're not in Florida or around there, since there's like an emergency in that area.
No, I'm on the other side of the country. So fortunately, I'm not there, but that sucks for everybody there.
Yeah, of course. And as I was saying, we all need, Radiance is such a great title, but, after what happened in the last 2 years, but why is Radiance, from your point of view, from the band point of view, the perfect, title track for this upcoming album, which with such also a particular video that we just saw?
Well, I think everybody just thought it made sense. And, Glenn writes, the lyrics, so he has his reasons for when he writes, lyrics, what they mean to him.
Yeah.
But what I've heard him say is basically, go through some, everybody goes through stuff. Sometimes it can be you on your own. Sometimes it can be the whole world. And you just have to look for that light at the end of the tunnel, rather than going, I'm in the middle of a big problem, woe is me, I'm done. You got to go, there's a problem, and what can I do now to get out of it? And you have to look positively at the future and, make lemonades out of lemons.
Yeah, right. And the choice of
and
band...
radiate that positivity. There it is. And you
All
have
right.
that radiance and radiate positivity.
Right. And
others
also
that may not have it as much as you.
Okay, so you are anticipating some of my questions because I see you have a guitar right there, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, so the choice of Ben Grosse, here he is at his third round in the studio with the Dead Daisies. It's not a surprise in a sense, because the mood of the songs is very particular. But did you choose him, because the songs had that mood, or actually the songs have taken this particular directions also because, of Ben's touch, which has been relevant also on the previous album, Holy Ground?
Yeah, honestly, when I came back into the band, I think that was already established. I think they already, I had no say, not saying I would say anything different. I'm just saying, hey, do you want to join back up? Yeah, let's do it. Cool. We're going to start a record with Ben in March. All right. You know what I mean? So they have to sort out well ahead of time what Ben's schedule is, what the Daisies tour schedule is, what months they want to dedicate to making a record. So that was all already organized, but yeah. I was like, cool, let's do it with, Ben has history with you guys. And sometimes that's just this. That's the simplest reason. We did stuff and it went well. We were all happy. Why mess with it, And then sometimes you go, just want to try something different because we are interested and curious in something different, It's like, this guy's great, this guy's great, this guy's great. This guy did great stuff with us. This guy, he did great stuff with these. Let's see for our next chapter if we can have some fun doing with a new mind at work, It's not that sometimes it's not, better or worse, because nobody can predict when a record comes out if it's going to sell a ton or be successful or it's going to be a flop. I mean, you don't really know. There's huge bands out there that put records out that flopped. But when they were in the studio, they weren't like, hey, I don't care if this flops. This is exactly what I do. Everybody wants their fans to be happy and they want to get new fans and have bigger success and keep it rolling. I mean, that's kind of, that's what we do, but I think in this case, they were just like, yeah, man, okay, Brian's back in, and we'd like to see this combination of, Brian, David, Doug and Glenn, we haven't been a band together. So that, with what Ben does and what we know about Ben, that could be really cool. I think that's it.
Did you actually collaborate to songwriting some way, since you are also a guitarist, as you are showing us? And how long did it take for you to record the drum tracks? I mean, did you work on the songs in a specific period or in between shows, and you had time to rework on the stuff, or you just came when everything was finished?
Yeah, they had all the demos. They had already had a lot of time to write before we did the record. The whole year before, like 2021. Oh wait, what is this? 22? I think they were starting to make up stuff for this record in like 2020, continued in 21, and then even did some more at the beginning of 22. You know, so that was already going. They had a lot of music. So when I came in, there was a lot of demos, and we didn't do anything before the studio. We just got in there, and I think just because we knew each other, it's going to make it easier. We'd all been buddies and played together. So as long as I had listened to the demos, and I listened to them with like drum machines, you know, and I made my notes, you know, I'd make an arrangement chart. Okay, here's the arrangement. So when I sit in the studio with them and they go, okay, the verse goes to the blah, 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 and this here, I can follow along and I can add to my notes or change notes according to what we're doing. And so we were doing that all together in the studio, but it was pretty much based on the demos as they were. We're just going to start adding drums to them, and then they'd redo all the music again, you know, for sure, because they were just demos. But we did drums first. I think most rock bands do put the drums down first, get the drums, and it was 2 weeks. You know, I went in there, and I'm pretty sure I think we did like 6 days a week. So it's kind of like maybe a song or 2 songs a day, you know, because we get in there and listen to it together, talk about it, play through it, see how it feels, talk about maybe change this or that, listen, do some more. And then if some songs are easier than others, some are like, yeah, this totally is the logical way to go. Other songs is like, well, let's try that, see what we think. And if maybe we want to change it a bit. So maybe one day we get 2 songs, maybe another day we get 1 song. But we also weren't we weren't in the studio for like all day and night. We just do a nice chunk of hours. So nobody, you know, I'll go long hours. I'll go, you know, I'll sit in there as long as everybody wants. But I think for everybody involved, it was like, we don't have to kill ourselves and squish all this into one day. We don't have to do like 3 or 4 tracks a day. Right. Because some records I've done that, they fly you wherever and they have the studio and they only have like, we got to get drums done in 4 days. We have 12 songs. Okay. You know, you're not going to be wasting. But in those cases, maybe it's a little more focused, like they know what they want. In this case, it was a little more free. Let's just play as a band and see what sounds good. You know, so it was pretty mellow. And,
so you have to learn to be quick, but if you can take your time, it's even better, right?
Yeah. I mean, if they said we want this beat, and if Ben as the producer, and that's what Ben as the producer does, he'll have questions. He'll be like, try this. Cool. Can we do it like that? And then Glenn might say, I really like when Brian goes to that. Yeah. And Doug might say, it's cool, but I was kind of thinking, that's what, you know, so we're just trying a lot of stuff out, you know, but it's all good. Like everything we'd come up with, it was like everybody's on the same page. It's just, you don't know until you actually hear stuff for the first time. Because a drum machine sitting there, they weren't programming the machine to be exact. They were just getting a beat down so they could play the songs on top. So they're listening to those drum machines for a while. That's all I have. So when you throw the drum machines away and you have us playing, now we have a groove and a feel and a sound of us together. And that's when you can really hear what your options are and what's working or not.
And being also a producer yourself and a guitarist gets you in trouble when you are in the studio, or it's actually a plus, you know, for you and for the band?
It would get me in trouble if I was telling Doug how to play his guitar, and it would get me in trouble if I was telling Ben how to record drums and edit on his computer. You know, yeah, that would be really annoying. You know, but I don't do that. You just take what you know. Doug, you know, Doug, trust me, he'll ask me what I think. You know, but or I see what his hands are doing. You know, so I can retain that. You know, if he wants to know. Whatever, like, hey, does it sound good when I do it here or there? Like, I know why he's asking, you know?
Yeah.
Or, you know, sometimes Doug doesn't need me, you know, to tell him anything. But if he's like, hey, man, I got some solos, like, oh, yeah, that one's cool. Maybe do more of that, you know, whatever. But I'm not there to do that. I'm there as a drummer to make the drums sound good for the songs that they wrote. That's it, you know? I want to hear the drums. I want to go to the studio and hear the sounds because I tuned them up and I care about that stuff. You know, so I'm always in there like kind of nitpack, like throw this mic up. Let me just hear this mic and all that stuff. But that's while we're recording. Once the drums are done and Doug's guitars, Glenn's bass, vocals, David Lowey's guitars, they're blending the guitars together. You know, that's when you're making the salad and putting the ingredients in, and that's where things start to take a shape that the producer has to, that he oversees, and he has his vision.
Yeah.
If we all sat in there together, you know, the vision might change a bit. Like if we literally are all together in the studio when we're mixing, Ben, you know, add this EQ, or can you compress this, or, you know, okay, maybe we could do that. It might sound a little different because you obviously have different people's ears doing different things. But Glenn was hired to be the producer, and he's got a pretty amazing track record. So you trust him. You go, hey, you were hired, do your thing. And I think we all knew he's going to come out sounding, he's going to make a modern, powerful rock record.
Right. And, you know, Glenn made rock history with his solid grooves and also as the voice of rock. Does forming a rhythm section with such, you know, a colorful and important bass player who also sings so well make a big difference for you as a drummer?
Yeah. But I answered that by saying I fully was aware of Glenn Hughes a long, long time ago, you know, but we met in the 90s, and then we ended up playing together in 2001. So that's 21 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So we did some Glenn Hughes solo shows. And when we had to do some rehearsing for the shows, and he would come up to my place, and I had a soundproof studio in my garage I built, so we'd rehearse in there. And that was when I really so I'm fully aware of Glenn's thing, you know, because that was a long time ago. But when he first came in and I got to be in the room with Glenn, he plugs in his bass, starts singing, and this whirlwind comes out of energy and power and musicality. I'm just like, wow, you know, wow. It was very powerful and very impressive. And yeah, it's just when you get one person doing that all at once, that's just a big, like I said, a whirlwind of energy and talent and music, and it's effortless. He's effortless when he does it, you know? Yeah. So I already experienced that and played shows with him live. So I knew that. And we've played other times since then, you know? But I know what I'm getting with, but I was also, with that said, to do that with Glenn on a record and live for real, like in a real band situation, not just like, oh, we're going to do a few shows. It's like, we're going to be a proper band. I was like, yeah, and especially the combination of all four of us, you know. Lowy he's a big fat rhythm, like his idol is Malcolm Young. That's his thing. It's like Malcolm Young. Nobody, you know, Malcolm doesn't want to take solos. David takes some solos, you know, like there's a thing. He's not trying to be a clone or whatever, but that's his world. It's like big fat rhythm. Doug's Guitar Hero. You put those two together, it's a big sound. Glenn up the middle with the bass and the vocals, you know. I knew this is going to sound really big. I know that it's, you know, I could just tell. So I was looking forward to it. And Glenn's, and he's also got a killer bass tone. Even forget the singing. If you just look at him as a bass player, it's big, fat, heavy, groovy, and it's a character. It sounds like he just has his own sound on the bass, you know, but he also throws in these amazing vocals on top. So it's like, wow, you know, there's not many. If you had to put a little list of like people in the world of Glenn Hughes together, you know, like that list is very short. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you got to go to McCartney's and Stings and Geddy Lee's and
Lemmy.
Lemmy. I mean, that's a short list. It's not like a list of guitar heroes.
Okay.
That bass playing frontman singer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of amazing bass players, but that's a short list. Glenn's one of those cats.
Right.
Yeah.
But about this, you know, many people say that Glenn's personality is quite strong in terms, you know, of imprint on the sound and the spirit of the Dead Daisies. What do you think, you know, since you were also part of the Daisies in the Corabi-Mendoza era? Is it very different from your perspective, as some of the fans say?
How can it not be? You know what I mean? You have Eddie Van Halen and Alex Van Halen and Michael Anthony creating an amazing 6 records with David Lee Roth that I grew up on, absolutely love. Put Sammy Hagar in there as a star in his own right.
Yeah.
The last thing Sammy's going to do is try to be David Lee Roth. But you're still going to have Eddie freaking Van Halen and Michael Anthony and Alex there, you know? So if you love that, great. But they're not going to say, Sammy, come in and try and sound like our own singer. No matter how popular and huge and awesome it was. Comes in there and he's got his own character, his own sound, his own style of melody and delivering vocals and lyrics. And it did well. It did amazingly for them, you know? So I'm like, hey, I played with Glenn here. I played with Doug there. I played with Doug and Daisies. I played with Corabi. I played with, you know, Marco. Glenn coming in, nobody's going to be like, Glenn, do what was done in this band. They'll be like, Glenn, you do this a certain way. That's why everybody knows you as you know? Been doing this a really long time, and you're a badass. So what would anybody expect? Do you really expect anything other than Glenn Hughes singing and playing bass? You expect him to like start crooning only and being like Frank Sinatra and like playing with a pick all quiet and like boom. No, man, he's a ball energy and he's Glenn Hughes. So that's what I expect. I don't expect him. I wasn't in the band when he joined the band. When I first heard the songs, I was like, of course, it's Glenn Hughes. He's fronting the band. He's playing bass. That's what it is. It's like, what do you expect Doug Aldridge to play like, you know, Eric Clapton slow hand blues with Cream only? No, he's Doug Aldridge, you know? Put the two together, you know, so it's different. Anybody who knows anything, anybody's a fan of rock and roll knows John Corabi's a badass singer in the world of John Corabi, you know? And when he went into Motley Crue, nobody's telling him to sound like Vince. They say, Corabi, man, we're going to write with you, and you're going to bring your personality and your flavor and your influences and your style and your tone of your voice. Tone. Corabi's tone and Glenn's are so different. You know what I mean? Both.
Yes, sure.
So what does anybody expect? We're going to have, unless we said we're going to do an acoustic record or we're going to try and sound like Bread, or we're going to try and sound like Peter, Paul, and Mary. You know?
Okay.
I mean, if we're at Dead Daisies, you know, but we're really into Crosby, Stills, and Nash these days with Doug and Brian and Glenn and David. It's, you know, then you might be like, what the hell are they doing? But no, we're going to play loud rock. It's just now Glenn's going to do his thing.
Okay, last question before we play a song. And so your surname means silent in some languages, if I'm correct, which is quite a trick of destiny, since you are, you know, thinking about how loud you are. But anyways.
I should try to be the world's quietest drummer. That's what I should do. I should just be like, how quiet can I be for how long? And nobody ever gets as quiet as I do as long as I do. That would be, you know, maybe more appropriate with my class. But if you go to Sweden, I'm a small table. My last name means a small table. So you can like put me next to a couch. You can have me next to a couch like this, and you have a drink, and you got to put your drink down. I'll take your drink, and I'll hold your drink next to the couch, like a small table.
I wanted to ask you before we go on with the video, which that Daisies song, thrills you the most to play live, and about the other drummers on this musical journey? Clufetos, Castronovo, Tempesta.
Are we live?
Yes, we are.
I know if you can chime in. I like the small table idea. I like me sitting next to the couch, waiting for your cup to be held, and I'm like this. I'm like a cup holder, but I'm a small table, so like you can also like put a magazine on my. I thought that was funny. Anyways, sorry. Okay.
No problem. No, I was wondering which song thrills you the most in the live set with the Dead Daisies to play, and I was wondering about the other drummers that has been part of this musical journey, Clufetos, Castronovo, Tempesta, and everybody else. Okay, but generally,
all of them.
Well, when you're playing their songs, actually, do you add your own signature here and there, or do you faithfully stick to the original parts? What do you do?
You remember in Spinal Tap? Remember in Spinal Tap when they're when Duke Fame walks into the hotel and he's talking to Spinal Tap and he's like, the manager goes, "Oh, I love to chat, but we got to go, wait in the lobby for the limo."
Yes.
And then Duke Fame walks away, and Nigel goes to Derek Sadholm, and he goes, "He's a wanker. He has this much talent." That's what I wanted to say. All those other drummers, wankers, this much talent. No, they're all awesome. They're all great, and but luckily in the Dead Daisies, because we're all buds and we all know each other, they're like, "Hey man, play how you play."
Okay.
So but there are bands where it's like, play this pattern. Like, that's the drum pattern. This band's different. They're like, inject your personality. And I think the other guys did that with my stuff. They had to learn my songs. Maybe they keep this thing a little bit the same, but maybe they do their own drum fills. It depends on the type of band. And if it's not working, then the band's going to say, hey, this isn't feeling right. Maybe listen to the drums on the song again. But in our case, for this tour, I do. I mean, I listen to the recordings. That's where I'm basing everything off of. But for me, they said, when we're gonna stick to the live versions of the tour we did.
Right.
Stick to these versions. Like if there's arrangement changes. So I didn't necessarily go back to the studio version. Let's say Dean's on the studio version. I would first go to the live version because they're saying that's the priority. That's where we left off. So if they change stuff, I don't want to go to the studio version and learn that and then have that in my head and make notes and then go to the live version and go, oh, they started it differently. They did the middle a little different. They put a different ending on. And I have like all this extra information. So I went to the live stuff. But then because they said you don't necessarily have to do exactly like the live version was, I was like, well, I should listen to the original then because maybe the original has stuff that maybe should stay in the song. So, I had to do a little extra work, but then they're also like, you also can just play, if it feels right, it is right, So there's a lot of freedom, but I also try to play wisely. I don't need to show, I don't need to change a simple drum part into something busy just because they might let me. I don't care about that, because hills and valleys, you create intensity. You lay back here and you throw it out there and you take it back here and you wait there and, give them this there and that there. But my favorite part, I love playing all the songs. It's rock drum show. So you play this song, it's this vibe, it's this song to that, it's all fun. But I think like for me, one of the heaviest parts of the show would be like the ending of Radiance.
Okay.
Just because it's a big, fat, heavy riff. And the groove of the song is as it is, and it's going on. It's going. You get to the middle, and we do the riff. But we do it halftime. Then we finish the song, and we change the ending. The ending is quick on the record. I think we go into regular time on the record, but it like ends quickly. We milk it. We milk it because when we started playing it, we're all like, this is heavy.
Yeah.
And I was like, should we? Maybe Glenn said it. Maybe Glenn was like, should we double it up and play it twice as long? And then I might have said like, what if we all stop and let, Loey do the riff on his own and then we build in, then we go. So we like quadrupled it. And I think it's an exciting thing because sometimes riffs are just badass and you want to milk them. And that's fun. So of all the songs in the set, I'd say that's probably the one section, like the end of. I'm glad we extended it. I'm glad we kept it like that, and I'm used to it. And I forgot the studio version way because I'm so used to the live. And I think fans react when they see us throwing down on a riff, and all of us are just locked in. Sometimes that's just like, that's all you need. You know what I mean?
Brian, you are a huge fan of Bonham, who I think is one of your main influences, and he is one of, the legends of rock drumming. I guess he is your favorite drummer. And let me tell you, I haven't heard anybody else play, John Bonham as you do, and it's unbelievable. The feeling, it's unbelievable. It gives me chills, really. I mean it.
Thank you.
You also did, The Groove Remains the Same. You also were, you sticked into Foreigner after Jason, which was actually another great moment. But one of the peculiarities of Bonzo is that, he follows the guitar more than the bass lines. And, is it something that comes naturally also for you? And if you could ask one question to John Bonham, what would you ask to him?
Oh, I would ask him, what would I ask him? I think I would ask him, my question would you please sit with me with a snare drum and put the drum heads on it, tune it up, and play it? Would you please do that for me right now? That's what I'd ask him.
Yeah, I could imagine that it was a drum question.
No, I'd ask him a bigger question. I'd say, would you please sit here with me with a bunch of drum heads in your drum set and tune it all up, and then jam, and we can hang out all day and jam drums? That's my question. Would you allow this, John? Would you allow me to be here with you today with the drums and the drum heads and tune them up and play all day? And that's my question. And hopefully go, yeah, man, what are you doing tomorrow? Let's do it.
But what do you think that makes you so Bonham?
Well, it's just like everybody else, because you hear John Bonham and he's it's the combination of all things. It's just all of it in one. It's the elusive groove. Why does this groove make us feel like that? Why does this sound do this? What is it? Why? Everything has funk to it. Everything has a little extra funk. And for real, like funk meaning like something that makes you move and dance.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, that's like dancey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Carousel Alhambra. It's just, why does he make you do, he's the guy. He made me feel like that when I was a kid. And I was like, snare drum sounds so cool. Like, what is it? I don't know why these things are affecting me, but they do. His groove is massive. It's just, yeah. And in Zeppelin, that's why they couldn't continue. They're like, there's some great drummers around. But, what he does with us makes us get to the next level.
Right.
Jimmy, oh my God, Jimmy Page is like, I'm coming out of the Yardbirds. I'm going to start the new Yardbirds. I got Peter Grant. We're hanging out. We got to put some people in. I remember John Paul Jones. He was killer in the studio, right? John Paul Jones. He's a master. I'm hearing about this Robert Plant. Oh, call Terry Reid. Terry's not into it. Hearing about this John Bonham. This Robert Plant kid who's 20. Plant goes, you got to check out my buddy John Bonham. These are kids about to take over the world. And Jimmy Page got that. Those three guys is to become Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Have you listened to the records? Do you hear how insanely amazing it is?
Yeah.
Have you heard all the different styles? Like, there is no band that gives you a song like No Quarter. There's no other band that gives you a No Quarter. That sexy groove, that eerie melody, the chord changes are, if you know anything about like chord, just like basic music theory, like whatever. They're on the record, they're in C sharp minor. They go to the A, whatever, major sharp 11. Then they throw in the D. The D is like, what? It's so much drama. It's so perfect. It's just like, I heard as a kid. I don't know what it's, but it was like, oh my God, they just went to the best freaking place they could go, and nobody saw it coming. Like, that's what Zeppelin was doing. And then the drum groove comes in over the riff. That's just no quarter. That's one song on, in a decade. So, yeah, I could go on forever about Bonham. I love a lot of drummers. I love a lot of drummers for a lot of reasons. But if I just had to, pick one.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not whatever. That's my opinion. That's almost everybody else's too.
Right.
Pretty much the way it goes. Just pretty much how it is. There really had to be, you know what I mean? There had to be the one guy, and it's always basically, Bonham pure. It's always that, which is great because they're not opposite. It's just they're different in a lot of ways. But I love them both. But if I had to pick one. It's the big picture would be Bonham, but right behind him is Neil for a whole other thing that has also. But I think pound for pound, I just constantly. Somebody wrote me a question: how many times a day do you say Bonham? That's kind of funny, But I'm a drummer, and I think I put more time into listening to him than anybody. But I also love it, man. I love so many other drummers. So like, it's like I just inherently. Maybe have some things I play that make me happy that are in his world, but I also have things I know are full-blown, pure Alex Van Halen, Steve Gadd, Clyde Stubblefield. You know what I mean? Like I know where I get everything. So I know that I'm playing from a lot of different influences, but maybe it's all kind of it's a lot of influences thrown in a bowl that has, a bowl that I borrowed from John Bonham or something.
So Led Zeppelin changed your life, most definitely. But I know that your very first concert was Kiss in New York City at Madison Square Garden in 1979, if I'm correct. What's the first memory that stick, to your mind that you treasure from that night? And was that also a life-changing experience?
Yeah, it totally was, 100%. Because if you hadn't been to an arena concert and you go to that, that's just, there's nowhere else in the world like it. Yeah. There's nothing like it. Especially an arena, more than a stadium, more than an amphitheater. Arenas are big, but they have a roof. So to hear what's going on in there, you have to be in that venue. You can't, there's no sound going anywhere else. You have to be in there to experience it. The lights control the vibe of the inside the arena.
Right.
Not the sun, not the clouds, not the rain. Mother Nature's really not affecting. We got climate control and we have lights affecting. It's another world. I still love it. I love walking the arena. I love it. But I'll tell you, my first memories that blew me away weren't Kiss, even though Kiss blew me away. It was walking out. I think my dad and I took the train into Manhattan. I don't know what, I think I remember that we trained it in there. And we walk up to the street and we're going to Madison Square Garden. And so are thousands of other Kiss fans. And there's tons of them have Kiss makeup on.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is taking over New York City. This Kiss rules New York right now. And we all love it. And that was already really cool. But then when we walked into the arena and there was an opening band playing. So we got there in plenty of time, but I don't even know if we knew there was an opening band. But I think they were called New England.
New England, yeah. Paul Stanley produced their record back then.
There you go. Okay, so Paul goes, I'm producing you, and I'm going to throw you up on stage at Madison Square Garden. How nice is that's awesome. But what I heard before I saw the inside of the arena, was like, holy shit. Because we walked in, and the arena was dark, and New England was playing. So we were playing. I only know live records. I only know the sound of a live record. So I'm walking down the hallway to our section, and I hear this amazing sound that to me sounds like a record. Sounds like a live record. And I'm like, wow, they're cranking somebody's live record. I just thought they were playing a live record. And I walked in and I looked down. We were really high. We had high seats. And I looked down at the stage, and that's New England playing. And the sound of the drums in an arena. But for me to actually hear that live was insanely amazing. It was just this beautiful sound that I'd never had in my life. And I'm 11 years old. I don't know this sound, but it is a sound that is going to affect me. Like, it's just like this huge gift I was given. And
Sure.
I see this drummer, and maybe the timing's a little off. Like, he hits the snare drum and I hear it, maybe after, but it was just ungodly to me. I've never had this in my life. Here I am. And it was just, it blew me away, the sound. So I'm looking around an arena. There's the stage way down there, and there's this live band playing this sound that I had never had in my ears before. And now so that was just already, that was life changing.
Yeah.
Now I get to do that with Kiss. I was sitting there going, I was on Paul's side of the stage, up really high, but I could see the whole stage. So I'm like looking down, and there's Paul, Peter, Ace is, kind of behind him. Gene's over there. And I'm sitting there just going, my dad brought binoculars, which I didn't take off. I stood on the top of my chair with my binoculars the entire time. I also, it was the first time I smelled pot, and I was like, that smells like, I was like, it smells like somebody's burning celery. Yeah, I thought it was like celery being burned. I didn't understand the smell. I was like, that must be pot. That's pot, because everybody does drugs. That's rock and roll, drinking, smoking, whatever. So I smelled that, whatever. But I would sit there. I was watching Kiss, just tripping out the whole time. But in my mind, I'm going, I am in the same room as Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Peter Criss, and Ace Frehley. I, on this planet, am here in this room with Kiss. That's really them right there. Like what, 75 yards away? That's them. That's the real guy right there. That's all I was doing for you. This is Kiss Dynasty. I got into a rock and roll over. Love Gun. I got turned on Destroyer, but Rock and Roll Over was out. So I bought Rock and Roll Over. That's why I have a Rock and Roll Over tattoo, because it was like the first record I bought with my own money. Love Gun comes out. The solo record, well, it was Love Gun, Alive 2, solo records, double platinum or double platinum solo. Anyways, and then Dynasty. So that's a lot of Kiss music in a few years. That's a lot of magazines. That's a lot of Kiss posters. It's a lot of hours learning how to play drums to Kiss records. That's a lot of fantasizing about these gods. Just the Kiss comic book. It's like this is all happening all the time. Kiss is the biggest. So to walk into a room, I call it a room because it's a venue. Yeah, it's Madison Square Garden, but it really is. It's a room. We're all standing there, and that's really them. That was just stupid heavy to me because they were rock gods, and I was actually in a place where the gods were. I'm in the same place that gods are. So that was heavy.
Okay, so our time is up. So very quick last question for tonight. Considering also, that the life of musicians had changed a lot in the last 2 years, how do you face yourself in 10 years by now?
I'm doing the same thing.
Okay. So
I'm playing drums. I want to play live. I want to throw down. I want to release energy. I want to be a better drummer. I want to write good music and have people like it. That would be nice to have happen. But 10 years from now, I'm just going to do the same. Like you asked Glenn Hughes 20 years ago, what's he going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to go on stage and kill it. And 20 years later, look at Glenn Hughes, what he's doing. So that's what I'll do. Same stuff.
Thanks for your time, Brian. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Amazing drummer, great person, and I hope to meet you again soon in person. Grazie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now let's go with Face Your Fear, the Dead Daisies. Yes. Yeah. Grazie.